This show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com, a place to be inspired by other women. Hey, everybody, I'm Jill Conway, and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating and supporting strong and successful women and sharing their stories. I'm hoping you will be inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. So my guest today is Maheen Adamson. Maheen is a neuroscientist and founder and CEO of Soof Solutions. I hope I said that right, Maheen.
You did.
Maheen has spent 20 years studying the brain at Stanford University, conducting groundbreaking research that is now available to help stroke victims, people with ALS, and people who have a difficult time communicating because of speech loss. So Maheen, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So Maheen, tell us, this so interests me because I don't know if I've ever spoke about it on the podcast, but my father had suffered a stroke many years ago, and he was half paralyzed for several years. And as many stroke victims do, they have a difficult time speaking after such a brain injury. So tell us what happened and how you got to develop this system, this device, and what exactly it is.
Thank you very much. I'm really sorry your father had a stroke, but in a way, I'm also thankful because you understand the pain that I went through, my family went through as a caregiver, and this happened a long time ago. So my father had a stroke in 2007, and as you know, fathers to the daughters are very connected, and I was his only daughter. But my father had a very boisterous personality. I'm a very talkative person, but my father was that times at least 100. He would walk into a room and he would take over the room. Like everybody loved his stories. He was writing his autobiography, and when the stroke happened, he lost the use of his right hand immediately because it was a left hemisphere stroke, and he had aphasia, so he was unable to speak. And it led him to be completely ineffective in communication, which is he couldn't communicate that he needed a glass of water. It took him 15 minutes to tell my mother that. And the whole family was devastated. And within 3 days, he was prescribed antidepressants immediately because his identity was stolen and he got depressed. Within 3 months, he had another stroke. And in 2008, within a year, he passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it was mind-boggling for me at that time. And I think the reason why was because I had just finished my studies as a neuroscientist. And when you do your PhD, you, at that time at least, as a minority woman coming from Pakistan, doing something as difficult as that kind of gets in your head. And you're like, oh, I'm a PhD in neuroscience. I know everything. And it was the most humbling thing that happened to me that I could not help my father. One, I didn't have an MD, so I can't prescribe drugs or anything like that. Thank God I had cousins who were neurologists who were incredibly helpful during that time. And they still are very helpful to me. And what's incredible to me is that at that time, as a PhD, all I thought about was still to this day, I have his MRI scans and I look at them and I see where the damage was. And I remember that unspeakable pain that I can't do anything about this, and so I decided to kind of put that aside, and I continued doing a lot of neuroscience research for the past 20 years, both at Stanford, and I'm also working for the US government for the veterans. And what's interesting is I've been working a lot with eye tracking and head tracking technology. I've advised a couple of companies because eyes are a part of the brain. And in the old days and in poetry, you always say eyes are the entrance to your soul. And I like to connect things like that because I feel like people relate to it a little bit more. And then somehow, about 3 years ago, I got selected to do the faculty fellowship at the biodesign program at Stanford, while also doing a master's for healthcare leadership at Brown University. And doing this, realized that as a scientist, I can also come up with innovative ideas that can help people who are having similar problems like my father had, especially people who are bilingual, who need an agnostic communication device, agnostic to language. So I decided during these two programs, and they helped me really understand how I can take an idea and commercialize it into a company. And I created Soof Solutions that uses head tracking and eye tracking on an existing device such as an Apple iPad, or and that uses images that are on the screen and uses head tracking and eye tracking to choose those images, such as a glass of water, and deliver that picture to an iPhone that the caregiver has, so you can immediately communicate your need and get a glass of water. You don't need language, you don't need to use your hands, although you can touch it, but you can use your eyes to do it. And it's a technology that we worked on using what Apple and provides, and we're now transferring it also to Android. And we want to market it directly to customers, but more importantly, we want to market it to nursing homes and other places, because we can create what's called a need score, so that we can see how much of the need is being met by the people who are serving the patient, whether they're your spouse or whether it's your nurse. So that's what we're working on right now, and trying to collect pilot data and raising money so we can scale it and make it to revenue, and then hopefully get insurance to pay for it.
Wow. So, all right. So let me ask you this. Is the patient wearing some sort of device on their head, or you're just so it's really like you
It's
just
like
see?
it's like
Yeah.
having the iPad in front of you
Yeah.
and just looking at it while you're lying in bed, and you can't move your arm, but if the iPad is in front of you, use your eyes to ask for something. And
Wow.
it's very, very simple, and there's a lot of applications for it. Now, there's data being collected, and there's data for head movements and eye movements that we want to use to develop algorithms that can really develop your own personal eye health score, so we can know day to day how you're functioning, and if there's any deviation from it, then we're like, hey, something's wrong. We don't want to be diagnosable. We don't want
Yeah.
to diagnose anything. I just
Yeah.
created a word, I think. I'm used to that. Hey,
Oh,
that's creativity. I'm just like
I
change,
liked it. I liked it. Go ahead.
change the English language as you
Yeah.
speak. Um, so I think it's important to kind of understand that that we need the data from each individual in order to use that AI to create that algorithm.
Mm,
But I have everybody's using AI, so I don't need to say I'm using AI. But what's
mhm,
important about our company is that we're using AI to make human to human interaction possible.
mm.
Because
When they, yeah.
yeah, a lot of AI is just you and the phone, or you and the computers.
Yeah.
That we are bringing people together, the provider, the caregiver, and the patient together in a community, because COVID told us, personal connection, communication, voice, hand gestures, the way your eyes look, what your expressions are incredibly important in order to communicate what you're. I mean, I'm very, very, how do you say, animated,
Mhm.
and which is, I think, sometimes not a good thing, but most of the
Yeah.
time it's a good thing.
Yeah. It's so funny. Well, I mean, sidebar to that. I always say, like, obviously Botox is a big thing now. And I said, my face is so expressive. I could never get Botox. Like, I would lose, I wouldn't have any movement in my face. And I would be like, I don't know. Like, I would just not be I'm not the candidate for Botox because I
I
love,
agree. You don't need it at all, but I think I totally agree that,
yeah, I'm always like, what? And I'm like, my face is always telling the story way before my mouth opens.
absolutely. I'm like the worst person. Like, I'll be making like, what? What? What?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. No, but I want to talk about that because I mean, something that I saw on your website, and I encourage everyone to go on. It's Soof. It's SOOF Solutions.com.
Exactly.
But if this is different, the technology hasn't been around before, or has it at all?
So it's not a new technology. It's a new way to use the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so my patent that will be getting for the algorithm, is looking at the way we're using the technology. So the technology we used is Apple. It's available. It's like
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
but we use the programming to create our own way of using it.
Right.
So the code is ours,
Okay.
because we used it so that we could use it, the what's called the augmented reality kit, the camera that I'm
Mm-hmm.
using to talk to you right now.
Yeah.
is in the iPhone and iPad. And I used the Apple version because the Apple technology is much more sleeker than Android. It is, it just is. Everybody knows
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Yeah.
And so we used it and we developed it, we coded it. And so now we can use it so that we can actually move it when I'm talking to you and I'm looking at you, and I can stare at a picture and then I can, without blinking, select it, and then the picture of a glass of water shows up on my caregiver's phone. And that way the caregiver knows that they need a glass of water. They
Right.
cannot, sitting somewhere in the home or somewhere in the nursing home, click and say, I gave her the glass of water. They have to walk to me and within a geographical distance, then say, yes, either I gave her the glass of water, it was the wrong thing she wanted, or a task complete. So three different options. So you have to be close to the patient, because otherwise, people would be like painting their nails and then they'll be like, "Oh, I'll give water to them after I finish this Netflix show." So
Yeah.
like,
It's true.
there's
Yeah.
all these things we have to think about, and then we'll also have like I'm not saying there's no competition for this. There is
Hmm.
competition for this, but there are apps that, so speech language pathologists and other people who help people to speak or help people to communicate, they use a lot of these devices and apps. One of the most famous devices that people use is a tablet, and it has an incredible eye tracker on it. It
Hmm.
is beautiful, but it's expensive, and it's an additional device that you have to buy and get insurance to pay for it. And it's a huge company. They're amazing at what they do.
Hmm.
It's an amazing technology. And every time I talk about it, people always talk about Stephen Hawking's. It's like, are you talking about having it on a wheelchair? And people look, and that's true. That's something that people can pick little letters and little symbols and then communicate through that. It shows up on the back of the iPad of the device what they want. Takes them a while to select it. These kind of devices and these kinds of programs, they come with their own library of stimuli. We don't have a library. We want you to take pictures of your favorite things and insert it into the program. You
That's
want to,
great.
it is awesome, right? I don't want to have like a animated picture of some family to say that I want to see family. I want to see
Right.
my daughter's face. I
Right.
want to see my son's face on there. And I want to select that because I'm already emotionally distraught. I'm already freaking out in bed and I can't speak. I
Mm.
need to just be with familiar things and make it as easy as possible. So, so anyway, so the main competition is that those big devices. The other competition is people also use apps that are easy to use on the phone. But so far, the ones that I've seen are using fingers.
Hmm.
Very few are using the eye tracking. And eye tracking and head tracking is heavily used in diagnosis. So you can look at the back of the eye to figure out if you have multiple sclerosis, beginning of Alzheimer's. There's a lot of companies that are doing activities like this, research like this, so they can push this to the market. We are not diagnosing anything. We are hoping to get the data so we can follow the health of the eye and see if anything's wrong if you use our device and
Mm.
our apps. But that's what our game is
Right.
communication. To me, is the most important thing for my company at the moment.
Yeah. Well, what I like about this is that it's an app that anyone can get, and it's not a fortune. You don't have to go through insurance for it,
Exactly.
right? And that's the, I think, the beauty of it, the convenience of it, because like everything else,
Yeah.
if people don't have to deal with insurance, and I'm sure, an app like that, if you were to go through insurance or a device, is astronomical, and no one can
Astronomical.
afford them.
and
Yeah.
and that's the thing, is like we are going to try to go through insurance, but at the same time, if nursing homes understand the value of this,
Hmm.
I give them a large enterprise price, and then for each person it's like $50 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, $50, that's like, I don't know, Netflix is getting to that point.
Right. Right.
uh,
It's
I
true.
don't know why I keep bringing up Netflix, but I do like it.
I watch Netflix too. No, I see. I understand your point, and I think what's interesting is that people, everyday people, will be able to use it and customize it to their own
That's the key.
likes and dislikes. Yeah.
In fact, the programming is such, and is that my eye tracking is much lower than my 16-year old. who's
Right.
almost 17, and I keep calling her 17.
Mhm.
She's driving, and I get freaked out when I say 16.
Oh,
So her speed of processing is so much faster than mine. So when
yeah.
she uses the app, we can actually program it so that we can make it completely applicable to her
Mm.
eye tracking speed versus my tracking speed.
Right.
So it grows with you.
Right.
So it can be used in kids, like developmental disorders, kids who have cancers, and in
Mm.
like oncology department. I have a study going on right now in Karachi, Pakistan, at one of the best medical schools. I'm a visiting professor there at Aga Khan University, and they are trying to do it in kids who cannot speak.
Wow.
And that's the place where I'm trying to get it into an Android
Mm.
because people cannot afford Apple, and there's women from villages coming with babies who 7-year-olds who can't talk, and they're like, we need it, but we don't have
Wow.
money. So there's that element of it to provide it to people who don't have the money, is that's also driving all this.
Yeah. And there's also, I think, that element, what you spoke about, this could change the game on care, on the care healthcare system, where, and there's not. I mean, some people have wonderful people who care for their family members,
Oh yeah.
and then sometimes everyone's heard the stories, and I hope it's never happened to you or any of our listeners, where their loved one goes into a facility and they're ignored or they don't get the proper care they need. So something like this, where someone has to actually deliver it and it's registered and tracked, and where I'm sure the homeowner, or I mean the loved one at home, can probably access and see, you
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
see how much care they're getting. I think that's
That's the whole
incredible.
idea. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Jill, this is so important that you said this, because I first, when I moved here from Pakistan, I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And my first visit to a nursing home was my then ex's grandmother, who was in Salinas, California.
Hmm.
And I was 20 years old when I visited a memory care center. And I came out crying
Yeah.
because I just came from Pakistan, and there it's all about the family taking care of you. Like the
Hmm.
family is the unit, like everybody, there's no such thing as nursing homes, right?
Yeah.
And then I took my daughter to visit one of my biggest, dearest angel investors, who is in a nursing home right now. Her name is
Oh.
Madeline Murphy. She's amazing. And so she's in a nursing home, and she supports my company. And I took my daughter to visit her, and my daughter came out crying. She's like, I don't like the nursing home environment, even
Mm.
though she's in a beautiful nursing home. Just to see people like that, you want her whole family is taking care of her so well, and they are so in tune with everything that's happening. But if you had to give them an app that shows everything that's going on with your loved one,
Hmm.
what they're eating, how their everything is done,
Hmm.
it's really incredible how this could change the whole landscape.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. I think it's amazing. I do want to talk about Maheen, because as we both unfortunately shared that experience with our fathers. I mean, and I looked it up. I looked up the stats. Over 750,000 people in the U.S. will suffer a stroke every year. I think they said something like one in every 40 seconds.
Yes.
Um, and the type of stroke they have is, I don't know if I say it, is eccentric. How do you say?
Ischemic.
Ischemic. And that's the one I think my father had too. And it
Yep.
slowly, um, it cuts off the blood supply to certain parts of the brain. And as you said, I remember looking, I think, at my dad's MRI, and it was a truly like a black hole almost, where the damage was of the brain, which is shocking when you see, like, wow, that whole area of the brain was, ruined. And then, so something like this, because stroke can affect, so many families, as someone, this could really, I would think, change the game for so many people. And I'm surprised that so many healthcare systems aren't beating at your door,
Yeah.
or.
I, I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that. And we were, so I have mentioned this before. My company is started at Stanford. So we're Stanford backed. And we are ready to sell now. We weren't ready to sell about 4 months ago.
Hmm.
And we're also crowdfunding at the moment. So we're using Start Engine to crowdfund. And so I'm going to send you all the social media links,
Hmm.
including Start Engine website, where people can actually go and can own part of Soof Solutions by putting in money as little, which is you can put in a money that is less than buying an iPhone, and it'll help the company move forward. And we're doing this because we believe that communication is a human right. Every single person needs to have their last words. My father did not have his last words. And to me, it's so important. And I always try to put it in a funny way because I grew up watching Bollywood movies where when you shoot somebody, they actually live for another half an hour telling their life story to their children. That's the
That's right,
dramatic
movies. Yeah.
that's the dramatic ending. Like, like, hey, I'm dying. And so here's my life story. And people don't understand how important that is to have those last words, even if they're like, I love you. And it's to this day, it just bothers me that he didn't have them. So communication to me is number one right that everyone should have. So if we can provide that to people by scaling it in a way that we can, revenue is revenue. And I want to get to that because it is important for each company to make revenue. And it cannot be, everything is patient centered. And one of the best advices that I got is that just think of helping the patient, money will come. So
Yeah.
this is not a company that's money driven. This is a company that's patient driven. This is a company that, I mean, I still cry every time I watch someone use Soof in front of me. I still have tears coming down my eyes because I know for a fact that I personally would never change the first image that I look at, which is a glass of water, because that's what my father did not get. So every time you see the needs, there's four squares and there's an animated thing that we did for, demonstration. Every time you see it, you will see that the glass of water is the first thing. Because that's like a thing, water is essential, but that's what is important. That's like a sign for me. So
Can you talk about, we should be going to break right now, but I just want to talk about, you know what? Actually, we're going to talk about a stroke and what it does to the brain. If you could speak to that when we come back, because I think that could be a little bit longer than a couple
sure,
minutes. So,
sure.
and it's not just stroke. I mean, it's anyone who has suffered some sort of
Exactly.
traumatic brain injury. Yeah, yeah. All right. So, all right, let's pause right here. We'll be more. We'll be back with Maheen Adamson. After the commercial break, you're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Please help me get the word out. I think I need a cup of coffee. Okay, we'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. So you're listening to these conversations and you're feeling inspired. But at some point, you want to be in the room. And that is exactly why I've created something new. A new online monthly membership called the Secrets of Powerful Women Club. It's a space where this podcast comes to life. This is where we go deeper. This is where you're not just listening to powerful women, you're also connecting with them. We'll be hosting live virtual events, real conversations, Q&A sessions with the guest speakers, and building a community of women around the country and the world who are ready for more, just like you. So right now, join the wait list and you'll get notified about when we launch, early access, and you'll get founding member pricing and priority entry when doors open. So just head to the link in the show comments or to my website, powerfulwomenusa.com, for more info and to get on the list. This podcast found you for a reason. So join the club and learn the secrets of powerful women.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Maheen Adamson is with me. Maheen, so we kind of talked about it a little bit before, but can you talk about what happens when someone suffers a traumatic brain injury, like a stroke, or they lose their speech, like with ALS and things like that? What is going on in the brain?
So I am going to focus on stroke because that's what my father had, and the company is focused on stroke, but it is also very much focused on loss of communication, which can happen with Guillain-Barré syndrome, ALS, and it can happen with people who are intubated. It can also
Yeah.
be children who have cancer or cannot communicate. So it's on the lifespan. So if you look at any of my slides that I do for pitch decks, we have a lifespan where you can use Soof in any of these situations. But what happened in stroke is that you do have different types of stroke. The biggest one that we have talked about is ischemic stroke. And what ends up happening with that, you can have it in any part of the brain. So you can have it on the right side, left side, or you can have it in the brain stem. And basically, it's a clot. It can actually cause obstruction, and it causes damage to the brain because it's an internal injury. So you can also fall, and you can have a traumatic brain injury that can cause that. And so when you have damage to the brain, you've seen it in the MRI scan, and so it shows up, and it is, if you're younger, then the healing happens, the rehab happens faster. If you're older, it would be more difficult, and we've seen that. And I do want to plug in one thing, that stroke is happening in younger people now than ever before, which is a big deal. And it's also important to know that it happens more in women than in men. The signs could be slightly different in women than in men, just as signs of heart attack are different in women and men. So these are like plugins that I wanted to put in. So what happens when stroke, usually when it happens on the left hand side, you lose your ability to use your right hand, because it's happening on the left hand side. And one of the things that we know about left hand side is that it's heavily involved primarily in language. So you can use a lot of your language abilities, and that's what's called aphasia, depending on where it happens. The location in the brain where your motor cortex is, that manages your motor movements, is very close to the language areas. And language is not just composed of motor, it is also composed of comprehension. It's composed of like understanding, pronunciation, the phonology as they call it, versus comprehension, versus writing, versus speaking. So depending on the part of that region that gets affected, you have different types of aphasia. And sometimes my father suffered from mixed aphasia, which is both the speaking, the motor part, as well as comprehension. So he could speak, but it sounded like gibberish, and it was hard for him to comprehend as well. Some people are like, so if you have stroke on the right hand side, then it's a very different type of a stroke. Not too different, but you still lose the ability of a little bit of reasoning, a little bit of things like that, but comprehension. But your language may be a little bit more intact if it's right hand side, and of course you lose the use of your left hand. So a lot of people who go through stroke, they go through swallowing problems. They also go through OT, occupational therapy. They go through physical therapy, and they go through speech language therapy. So I think those are some of the things. Now, I did mention brainstem, and if you do have a stroke in the brainstem, then you go through what's called the locked-in syndrome, which is you must have heard about locked in. You're just locked. You cannot. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's terrifying to me. It's kind of like a really, really severe version of Parkinson's. To me, that's hell. When you know when you can understand, and you can think, and it doesn't happen completely in Parkinson's. Now they're coming up with ways to say that there's recent research that actually shows that there's cognitive effects that actually happen in Parkinson's before motor, which is very interesting. I just wanted to put that in. But being able to wanting to reach and grab a glass of water, but your hand cannot move, knowing that to me is probably the most frustrating thing.
My
So
father used to say that, and he used to say, "I'm trying, like I can envision my hand moving. I'm telling my hand to move, and it's not moving. It won't
it
move."
is.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, and as a neuroscientist, we studied this, in this, and I remember this when I was a grad student. We studied the visual system, and there's a whole primate experiment series in which they tried to figure out how these chimpanzees and these other primates that we studied, like when your brain wants you to grab a glass or a mug, right?
Mm.
And it's your hand starts shaping into that
Hmm.
as you're directing it.
Position. Yeah.
That whole sequence is actually a very inherent evolutionary thing,
Hmm.
and it comes from a very old part of the brain, and but it connects to the language centers, and it
Hmm.
connects the visual center and the language centers, and it's just, and to lose that is just, it's, to me, it's like it's the oldest part of the brain directing primate abilities to
Hmm.
be able to grab something, and you just don't have the ability to do it.
Right. We all take that for granted, right? Those
Hmm.
simple
These
things.
are
The
small
simple things.
things, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's when you get a paper cut in your side and you can't lift something, that kind
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Right. Right. So Maheen, I mean, this happened. This path opened to you after your father had the stroke. But what did you? What was life like before that? I mean, you were living in Pakistan till a teenager. So what did you want to do growing up? What did you think you
Oh,
wanted to do?
yeah, I was quite the different person then. Actually, my father, of course, my mother is an amazing, amazing home builder and just a very strong woman, and very good compliment to my dad. My dad was in corporate affairs in Pakistan, but he always pushed me forward. He wanted me to get really highly educated, and I was the apple of his eye. I was a spoiled brat. I'm still am kind of a princess, and he pushed me forward. He made me do things that other women were not doing. He's like, I want you to. He would make me listen to. In those days, I'm gonna. I was raised
Cassettes.
on cassettes, and I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth. But I remember waking up in the middle of the night to watch Margaret Thatcher give a speech, and my father would be like waking me up. I was really young. He's like, because I was through, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, whatever they had. They didn't have satellites then. Maybe they did. I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Right.
And just he always wanted me to be very confident. And I'm sure you know who Benazir Bhutto was.
Hmm.
And she was a daughter of, she was prime minister of Pakistan, first female ever prime minister of Pakistan. And she used to speak. My father used to say, listen to her speak,
Mm.
watch how she speaks. And these are the universities that she went to. He would list them in order. And that got ingrained in my brain. I'm like, I'm going to go to as many universities as possible. I'm going to go as far as possible. And so he was basically a very big proponent, a very big supporter of whatever I did. And my mother was too. But at that time, I was very good in studies, but I was also partying a lot, having a lot of fun in high school. I traveled a lot with my dad. I modeled a little bit. I wanted to just, like, hang out and just hang out with my friends. And nobody expected me to do what I'm doing today.
Well, what
And
did you want to do? What did you want to do? What
I
did you
wanted
so?
to, I really liked Indiana Jones, and I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Wow. Wow. Cool. Cool.
I had this uncle who gave me a book on archaeology, and I was like 17 or 18. And bless his heart, his name was Mujib Ahmed. He was genius. In those days, he got admitted to MIT, and he actually was like very much into like what books I was reading. He gave me a book on archaeology. I was like 17, and I was like, oh, I want to be an archaeologist. And so I fought with my father to come to the U.S. because in those days, in my family, women did not leave without being married to someone to go study abroad. And
Wow.
because my brothers were already abroad studying at University of Arizona and Arizona State, I was like, if they can go, I can go. I've always done what men have done. So,
Mhm.
and I'm better at school at them anyways, right? So that was like,
I love it. I love it.
I've,
Yeah.
I've I have three brothers, and they're absolutely lovely, and they support me amazingly, even though I think I drive them crazy. Um, so my father said to me, "Okay, you can go. You can be at a junior college, live with your eldest brother, and then you can get this out of your system. Study world civilizations and American history and anthropology, and then come back, and we'll take care of you and get you married off." I was like, "Okay." Well, the bird left its nest and never returned.
Yeah. Wow. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Yeah.
So I did all this, but it was also with the support of the family. Like, of
Yeah.
course, they were like pulling and pushing, and they're like, "What are you doing?" But at this at the end of it all, they're incredibly proud of me. And my mother especially is very proud of me. My brothers are too. And it is because of their support that I am here. And of course, it's really important to understand that a lot of times they were really scared for me because
Mhm.
I was building a path in which I was single, alone, just moving forward. I did get married quite early with my ex. He was white American ex Navy, and we had a wonderful marriage for quite a long time. And we have two beautiful children. And he was very supportive of everything I did, and I learned a lot from him. And he was very supportive. But I think what's at the end of the day, what you realize is that at that time I was carving a path, and it was very scary. There were a lot of obstacles, and I didn't have a lot of mentors that I could, you know, identify with. And now I'm mentoring so many minority women. And I feel so privileged that I can do that. And they don't have to have the same obstacles as I did.
Mm.
And there's so many of them. So that's great. Safety in numbers.
Mhm.
And
Well,
yeah,
what are some of the struggles that you faced that most people that women are still facing so many struggles everywhere, but I ask this too because then I want you can offer some advice to the women who are still like, how do I go about
yeah.
breaking those barriers?
I think the women, and so I have the daughter that I have. I also have a son, 22-year-old, and they're both so incredibly Gen Z, and they have a very different view of the world. Even though I tell them you're half white, half Pakistani, and you have to kind of know the
Both. Yeah.
both of them, right? And
Yeah.
it's hard to teach them about Pakistan. They're Americans. They're not
Yeah.
gonna. I mean, they kind of follow whatever, but they are, and core of it is an American. And I am
Yeah.
American. I'm very, very American, but I'm also half Pakistani.
Yeah.
And I tell them about my struggles, but it is it's culture is a huge part of it. So when I decided to have my child, when I was in my late 20s, that was frowned upon because I was putting my PhD first. I was not education first. I was not putting my marriage first and having children. I got married very, very young. I got married at 21, but I didn't have children until later. And that was like, why are you doing that? Why are you educating yourself when you should be having children? And that was a huge thing. Working, putting my, and in those things that have changed now, I think I accepted a lot without questioning it, which is something that I don't know if I'm glad about it or
Mm.
not. Sometimes I do question it. And that's another thing I always say is that it's okay to doubt your decisions. Just be everyone has regrets. And I mean, I didn't want to put my son in daycare when he was that young, but I had to
Mhm.
because there was no
Mhm.
choice. And those are some of the things that I always think about, is that was looked down upon. Like, you're putting your career bigger than your children. And how
Mm.
can you must not be good at something, because how are you an all rounder? Like, you can't be a good mom if you are such an amazing professor. Like,
Mm.
you can't be a good mom, or you can't be this. So, what I did, I always say this in my other podcasts and other speeches, is that superwoman is an actual thing that we used in our vernacular that we can actually achieve. Superman is a DC comic character.
Mm.
Like, we literally wanted, in my time, Superwoman was a thing. Like, I used it in talks. I'm like, I'm Superwoman, I can do it. We think we can white knuckle through everything. We can't. We need support. We need to
Yeah.
know that there are things that we just can't. You cannot be everything to everyone. It is impossible.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that I had to learn the hard way. And I had family support. I had people that I could go to. Even now, I have friends at work who get upset when I don't text them if I'm somewhere. Like, that's how close I am to my female friends at work.
Mm.
You have to have that support network. But some of those obstacles, personally, culturally based, is very woman related. Like, I I love my children, but it wasn't necessary for me to have them. It's okay not to have children. But
Right.
having your womanhood attached to motherhood is a huge thing in every culture, I think.
Yeah.
You're not
It's not
less,
fair. It's
it's
not fair.
not fair. You're not looked as
Yeah.
you're not looked at as a woman if you don't have children. I mean, that's not fair at all.
Yeah.
And more women in the younger generation are telling me we don't want to have children, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
fine, whatever you
Right.
want to do.
Right.
There's nothing
You do
wrong.
you. It doesn't matter. Right? It
Exactly.
does stop caring what other people think.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
care too much, I think. And I think
Yeah.
I still care too much. And but I think my mom cares more than me. I care less than her, and hopefully my daughter will not care at all.
But again, like I think, like you said, it's cultural. That's what all of us really grew up with, is that this sense of right path, right, for
Yeah.
women. And then when you take a detour off a path that maybe people around you aren't familiar with or aren't okay with, it can cause can cause an upset for sure, because they don't
Yeah.
understand it.
And professionally, I'll give you some examples. There's also like I had an advisor who was my advisor for my lab. This is when I was an undergrad, who literally told me this: "Why are you applying to grad school? You're not going to get in."
Wow.
And the reason,
Wow.
and I didn't understand the reasoning because my grades were good and all that. He wanted me to stay in his lab for one more year as a lab assistant. That's why. So there's
Mm,
always something behind, even
mm,
someone being mean to you. You got to think about the reason why they're doing it. Because he wanted me as cheap. Lab assistants are cheap. So he
yeah.
wanted me to stay. And that one sentence hurt me so bad. But I only applied to 3 universities. I was like, I'm not going to apply more than, 3 universities because
Mm.
I can't get in. And I got in all three. Ha ha.
Wow. Wow. No, it's amazing. But I mean, so what, listen, I'd love you. So give advice. I'd love you to give advice right now to the women listening, the younger generation, even our same age group or older, who said, I've always wanted to do such and such, but I haven't had the guts to do it, or I haven't been brave enough to do it. What would you say?
Okay. Lots of things I want to say. And I think that I'm so amazed at the young women there that they're just, I'm excited for them. Like
Yeah,
it is a whole
they're
new thing.
fearless.
And
Yeah.
I want them to be excited for it. I don't want them to be negative about it. And they are negative about it. So they would say things like, what's my why should I study and work so hard when I know I can't afford to buy a house? The economy is going so down.
Yeah.
I know the world, the environment, this and that. They've got the weight of the world on their shoulders. And I tell them so much positivity now. And not everyone's born to be like the CEO and the leader, right?
Hmm.
Not everybody's born. Everybody has their own path. So and that's something that I know. I mean, I run centers. I've run, at the VA, and as well, I'm working. And then now I'm running a company. When you're a team, you need different expertise to make the team work. So you need to find your own expertise, whether or the word I want to use is niche. I think that's how you
Hmm.
pronounce it.
Hmm.
You need to find out what you're good at. Now, you are always going to be like, well, I don't know what I'm good at, and I'm not. I don't know what my major is. I'm only 19. I'm only 18. Whatever. And I think that's fine. You can change your major, do whatever you want. How do you know you're passionate about something? You're passionate about something when you're in the shower thinking about that thing. That's how you know. That's my key. Like if I am writing a grant and there's something stuck in my head and I cannot get out of it, I'm not thinking about my grocery list or how I'm going to paint my nails or what I'm going to look or how I'm going to make, my eyes pop or whatever. I'm thinking about how the hell am I going to prove this hypothesis with the right power, with the number of subjects. What are you passionate about? you That's when you've got your head, doing this. Literally, I'm not kidding you, that shower question is going to help you understand what you're passionate about.
It's always the shower or in the car,
Or in the
right?
like that moment when that clarity,
Yeah.
when you're trying to solve a problem and you just can't let go of it. It's
Mm.
called, some people call it anxiety, some people call it perseveration. But my boss once said to me, A little bit of anxiety goes a long way, but just not too much, just enough to get you out of that phase of like, you've got the solution.
Mm,
And I think um, young women need to understand that it's okay to doubt yourself, because that allows you to ask the question, make collaborations, build teams, and gain knowledge. Because when you don't ask, you don't gain knowledge, and you have to, and it's okay to do that. It's okay to collaborate, okay to do that, and develop tough skin. We all get that lecture, because no matter what you are, if somebody is going to be higher than you and treat you like crap, and you're not in that position where you can fight with them. So you just have to be very patient, and you have to be strong.
mm, yeah. Well, Maheen, what do you think the secret of success is? Because you're very successful now. You have your, I mean, you worked at one of the top universities in the country. You are now CEO of this amazing
Yes.
of a company. So, what do you think the secret of success is?
uh Giving time to yourself. And
Good.
that's not something I did for a long time. And now I'm doing it, and it really does help. It gets you out of your funky phases when you are down and you doubt yourself so much that you don't want to move. I mean, literally, all those things that you hear about, crouching in space, like, I can't do it. Like, somebody, like, there are so many moments in my life where I thought that I would just not be able to make it. But the secret to success is to be able to deal with failure. It
Mm,
really is. To be able to get up and go again, no matter what anyone says. And also, there's one last thing that I want to say, which is really hit me, and it's actually in my own language, and I'll translate it. I heard it about a month ago, and I really like it. I don't know what poet said it. It says, when the when the dialogue matters more, forget the person. But when the
mm,
person matters more, forget the dialogue, the argument. So if you're having an argument with someone, if the argument matters more to you than the person, look at the argument. But if the person matters more to you than the argument, forget the argument.
oh, interesting.
I think it's supposed to be from a poet about, I don't know, whatever. But to me, it's a very professional thing.
Yeah.
Like, how do we, because we cannot at this point in our lives, with the diplomacies that we need at our stage, with CEO, academic, medical, this and that, we
Mm,
can't afford enemies. We cannot afford to, there's always right and wrong, but being able to communicate, understand why people are being the way they are, I think maintaining relationships is a very important thing in this world.
I
And
agree with you.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, we're coming to the end, and Maheen, I wanted to ask you: is how do people get a hold of your app, your equipment? Can they already, or is it not available yet?
Yes, it's all on Apple apps right now. You can download, you can connect with my programmer, and they will give you the emails, and you can start using it. And it is free at the moment, but we will be charging in a few months, so get on it. And we are on our website, soofsolutions.com. We are also on Start Engine, as in, the car Start Engine.
Mhm. Mhm.
We are on there at Soof Solutions, where you can actually be part of our company and don't, and, give money to us, and you'll own part of Soof. It's a
Wow.
crowdfunding site, and we'll be on there for another month or two. So,
Mm.
and
Wow.
then we're also on Insta, Facebook, all of the tweets and all that. So I can send all that to you, and you can maybe run it on this however you want to do it.
Yeah, and I'll get collaborations. I'll collaborate with you on Instagram and all that stuff. So yeah, that's big. So what is the app called? Is it Soof Solutions?
Yeah, it's just Soup Solutions. So we have a
Okay.
caregiver app, we have a provider app, and we have the patient app. So it's a 3 app suite, and the patient app runs on the iPad, and the
Mm.
other two are for the phone. So the reason we chose the iPad is because the real estate's bigger.
Yeah, 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 yeah. People can engage more with it. Oh my gosh, Maheen, I love this. I really do, and I wish you great success with this. I think it's going to be, it's going to help so many people.
I hope so
really.
too. And I hope you hear about me on some billboard and then you'll be like, oh my God, I know her.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to stay in touch with you because yes, I think it's amazing and I think you're doing great things and I'd love to see what's next. I always like,
Well, I have a dream that the billboard would say, can't talk, soof it.
oh,
That's my
well,
dream.
there you go. That's you just made it happen right there.
Yeah,
You just manifested it. So,
exactly. Well, thank you
all right.
so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. I was going to say thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Maheen Adamson and Soof Solutions. I don't know if I'm butchering that name, but it's SOOF and her incredible app and work technology to help people who can't find the words and are not able to speak. And I think it's extraordinary.
Thank
Really.
you
Yeah, thank you. All right. So,
so much.
and I'm Jill Conway, everybody. Thank you for listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. This is a show celebrating incredible women like Maheen. I hope you're inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. Your voice matters, and your story can help others. So, I hope you join me next time. Share this podcast with a friend and follow us on Instagram. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, Maheen.
Bye.